Laura, if you want to watch comments, that would be great. One sec here. All right, I think we are live on Facebook. Hello, Pandere followers. I'm Ayla Rogers. I'm one of the co-founders of Pandere Shoes. And very special guest today is Cara Cruz, also known as Pale Ginger Pear. Cara, thank you for joining us today.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
And we also have our fearless CEO, Laura, online today with us. She is in travel, currently at a shoe show in Vegas, and working on some new styles for the Pandere team. But, you know, today we were really hoping, Cara, to just kind of dive in a little bit to your incredible brand and hear a little bit of your story.
So it's crazy to me that it's taken off and it is like a brand now, which is insane because for me, I'm just Cara, and it's so bizarre that like so many people know who I am and I've helped them. And I mean, it's great. It's just, it still takes some getting used to because I mean, I started my Instagram on a dare with the ex that I was dating. He thought I would have followers. I didn't think I would. So I was like, gonna prove him right. And we still talk, we're still friends. And I sent him a message over like last weekend when I hit 90,000. And he was like, no followers, huh? And I was like, yeah, no followers. But yes, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say, what did the brand start out as? What was happening?
Well, when I started, it was just kind of like plus size fashion and what I was wearing, because I was always stopped by people and was like, where did you get that? You dress really well for your shape and your size. Like, where did you get, your dress or your shirt, or how did you find jeans that fit? And because I'm also extremely short, I'm like 5'2". So to be short and wide, you don't get a lot of clothes. And so it's kind of started out as like what I was wearing. And then I started it in February of 2018. And I think it was like April of the same year, I had this guy that would not stop like messaging and commenting about, oh, you have tree trunk legs and blah, 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 blah.
Gosh.
And he just hit me on a day where like the redheaded pepper kicked in. And I was like, yeah, I do. And this is why I have tree trunk legs. I have lipedema and lymphedema. And I showed a picture like showing my full legs and showing compression for the first time. And I used like the hashtags, and I got so many other women that was like, my legs look like your legs. Or I would get the creepy guys that were following me was like, my girlfriend looks like that. Maybe she has this. And it just kind of went from there, where I stopped hiding it and started talking about it. And then I started researching doctors more, and I connected with Dr. Jamie Schwartz, and then the surgery started, and it's just taken off. And so because of that stupid bet, I have like a chance at life I never thought I would have. But yeah,
it's amazing.
It's been crazy.
Cara, I'm a little bit, hello everyone. I'm in a weird place. I don't know how much you can hear the music in the background, but I'm in a hotel in Vegas. We just finished the shoe show, and I've been looking forward to talking to you, Cara, because I don't think I think maybe we talked on the phone before, but I don't think we've ever met in person. I don't know if you can call this in person. Anyway, we do think you have a great story. I'm so glad to check in with you today and hear what's going on. I wonder if you could go back a little further. I think, you're another one of our troop of young folks in the lymphosphere. I'm using now lately because Alexa Arcolano coined that term.
Yeah.
All of us are in the lymphosphere and trying to make a difference. I wanted you to go back a little bit earlier. Tell us when these problems started for you and what that was like a little bit in the beginning. I think you've had this into your childhood, correct?
Yeah, there's pictures of me as like a toddler, like 18 months, 20 months, where I have clear ankle cuffing. And it's not just like the toddler baby fat. Like there was like ankle cuffing and like some puffing and arching in my feet. And even Dr. Jamie was like, I've never seen it like that young. And like I had what they used to call Tootsie Roll arms. I had like the fat baby arms. I had like the 3 rolls, like the big Tootsie Roll bars. So they used to call me like Tootsie Roll arms as a kid. And but so I've always had like the bigger legs. One of my nicknames as a child was Squeezer, because they used to pass me around as like a baby. It was like, you just gotta squeeze those thighs. And it became Squeezer as like a nickname. So it's always been something I've been like known for. And there's pictures of me, 6 years old, where I'm standing and I've got the like inverted Y where my knees are touching, but then my lower legs are out, which is typical of hypermobility and lipedema. I have pictures of me at like 8 and 9 where like the hormones are starting to kick in, and you can see my legs are getting more column-like. I would say 4th grade, I remember picking out an outfit for a school picnic and purposely wanting a shirt to cover my top of my arms because they were bigger than my lower arms. So, I mean, little things like looking back, it's been there forever. I know it kicked in more with puberty, like the lipedema side of things. And then when I was a junior or senior in high school, I fell and injured my left leg. And when I did that, I cracked tissue and damaged the lymph channel. And so my left leg started ballooning up with lymphedema, like the size of a football. It started out like a really little spot, and if I rubbed it, it would go away. But then like the pain from the injury stopped. So you go about your teenage life and don't pay attention to it.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden it's like a football in the front of my leg.
Oh man.
And then so that was like 2000 when I graduated from high school. And then I got pregnant with my son in 2008. And by that point, I had Googled like one leg larger than the other because like my left leg was worse than my right. And I asked my PCP at the time for a referral to go get like wrapping and stuff done. And he was like, you read too much online. Like, you're just fat. You need to lose weight. And I was like, I have one leg that grew bigger than the other. Like,
yeah.
And I was like, you need to give me the referral. And if I'm right, I get the treatment I need. If you're right, you can tell me you told me so. So he signed the referral, and I walked in the door to the physical therapist office for the leg wrapping. And they were like, you're the worst case we've seen in years, and you're pregnant. Get on the table. And they started pumping my legs before having me even fill out paperwork.
Oh my gosh.
Did you start feeling better? I think one of the things I'd love to talk a little bit about is, it sounds like you didn't have any real resistance to going into treatment. But I know there's a lot of people that struggle with it so much because it is intimidating. It is work. And sometimes people don't have the dexterity and the strength to take care of themselves when they're getting treatment. But I would like to know, like, if you just automatically just knew you were going to be up for the task, or what that was like for you.
I think at that point, the stubborn, the redheaded side had kicked in, and it was like, I finally had an answer, because everybody, like, I was told over and over and over growing up, you're fat, you need to lose weight. And nobody gave me an answer. Nobody gave me a solution. It was like, well, you need to lose weight, but figure it out yourself. And so when I knew that part of my leg issue was not my fault, was not something I had done, and there was a treatment to get that ankle cuffing down and make that pain, that pain of like, it feels like it was going to explode or like, rip open, to get that down to be manageable was something I wanted to do. And so especially because it really got bad as I was pregnant. And so at that point, I was like miserable, and I was like, this needs to be done. Like, something needs to get this swelling done. And I mean, I do not like the wrapping. I call it hell on earth. Like, I will be completely, you know, blunt with it. I don't enjoy it. It's a necessary evil.
Yep.
I feel better once it's done and I got new compression and all of that. But the process of, you know, being wrapped for almost 2 days, taking it off for like an hour, getting my quick shower, getting to my next appointment, and rewrapping, especially when you're pregnant and can barely walk as it is not fun. And so, I mean, my first compression stockings I got when I was 8 months pregnant. I had to figure out how to put them on with a belly that didn't give.
Oh my gosh.
I was like, how am I supposed to do this?
That's amazing. And, you know, Cara, one thing I'm interested in is like, it sounded like pretty early on you accepted that, you know, you had a medical condition and that it was going to be with you the rest of your life. I know we talk to some people, a lot of times we're talking to people who have just learned that they have lymphedema. And so they're in a bit of an identity crisis. Do you mind talking a little bit about identity and having these conditions?
I knew because like my dad was a fit Marine, and then he got a back injury and was on a mattress on our floor for months when I was a small child. And he ballooned up during that time. And then he wasn't happy with himself.
Yeah.
So in the 80s and 90s, he went on every fad diet. And I got roped into it because I was like the chubby one in the family with him.
Yeah.
And so during that process, like my whole life was brought up of like, stuff, like I wasn't okay with how I was. And like it was coming from family, which should have been the most supportive. And like the only diet that ever worked was Atkins. And I think it worked because we later found out I have celiac disease. And so with Atkins, you cut out the carbs and the gluten. And so I was eating foods that my body could actually process for the first time.
Wow.
But then my dad never stuck with any of the diets. So once he stopped them, like we went back to normal and like all of that. So I knew all along that like I barely eat. Like I eat like a 5-year-old. I'm super picky and I do not eat a lot. So I knew I shouldn't be the size that I was for the amount I ate. And I was active. Like we swam every day. I babysat a bunch of kids all the time. Like I did stuff. I was the school mascot. I did cheerleading. Like I was active. So there was no excuse why I should be the size I was. And so I knew there had to be a reason. And I had just kind of given up on getting an answer and just kind of accepted, well, like this is how I'm supposed to be. And, you know, had kind of just given in. And then when I learned of lymphedema and got that answer for my left leg, and then they're like, oh no, you have some of it in your right leg too. And I was like, oh, the left leg had a distinct like injury spot. And then I was probably like 4 years into my lymphedema treatment and was back for a new pair of compression. And I was complaining to that physical therapist how I was tired of being told to lose weight with no answer. And she was like, oh, you're not going to lose weight. She was like, you have lipedema as well. And I was like, what is that? Like, I was like, why has nobody told me this? And she was like, oh, it's a special fat that doesn't react to diet or exercise. And it was this mix of emotion of I knew, like, I'm not crazy, and then pissed off as to why has nobody told me this in 20 some years.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, we primarily deal with folks who've had lymphedema, but we do talk to people with lipedema, and it's amazing how the story is so similar. It's always, you know, they were told it was their fault. They were told they were just fat. There was nothing, they should just diet. And then they come to this realization that that was completely wrong. And have you found medical professionals that you trust and that you can kind of lean on with these conditions? Because I know that's part of
my physical therapist, Megan, for my lymphedema wrapping. I love her. She's a sweetheart. And I joke that she gets like the worst side of me because she gets me during wrapping, which I don't enjoy.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm sorry. It's not you. I promise. It's not you. And like she actually follows my Instagram and like is very supportive. And I have some medical companies like Medi, who is my compression for my lymphedema.
Yeah.
They follow my Instagram and support me.
Awesome.
Lipoelastics, which is my compression for my lymphedema side. They are very vocal and supportive, and we've done lives together and explained compression and talked about it so the crowd can get it. And then, of course, my amazing surgeon, my angel on earth, Dr. Jamie Schwartz. He has legit changed my life.
Wow.
He has never once asked my weight, never once mentioned BMI. The only person in his office that's ever talked about it has been the anesthesiologist, and that's just because she needs to give me the right amount of medicine so that I don't wake up mid-surgery, because I don't want to be awake for it. But he has been amazing. And like my first consult with him was October of 2019. And I'm in the gown, and I had left my lower leg compression on because after traveling in California heat, they were bugging me and I didn't want the compression off while I waited. And he was like, do you mind taking those off for me? And so I took one leg off and I went to do the other leg. And he had been sitting on that little doctor stool that they all sit on. And he dropped to his knees on the floor and grabbed my leg and started moving the ankle cuffing around. And he turned up to his nurse that was in the room and was like, we have to start with this, and this, and do this, and this. And then he turned back to me. He's like, oh, I'm sorry. He was like, this is just really bad. If we don't start to tackle this, he's like, you could lose your mobility or like your foot.
Yeah.
And I like teared up and I was like, don't apologize. You were literally the first doctor that's like ever noticed the condition without me trying to force them to pay attention.
Yeah.
And he's like, this is so bad. He was like, I don't know how you do it. He was like, how do you wear shoes? He was like, you have the tiniest feet. And cause I do, like, I'm like a 6.5, 7. Like I have small feet. And so he was like, I don't know how, and I had really bad ankle cuffing that overlapped. So I wore a ton of ballet flats at the very beginning, or flip flops, because nothing else fit. And those don't have support. And then that throws off your legs and your back and you're miserable. And so, yeah, I mean, he legit has changed like my life from surgery number one. My mobility was better. My ankle cuffing was gone. I could wear shoes that laced up, and because of that, then I could walk more. If I had, if I could put on a tennis shoe that had support, I could then walk the dog. I could be more mobile. I could do this stuff.
It's
I mean,
a cycle.
I average like, I average like a mile a day walking the dog now. And like, I never would have done that before. And
oh, that's so amazing.
Yeah.
Cara, we follow your Instagram too. I think that's how we originally found you. You have such a positive body message, and it's something that I think resonates with a lot of our people. And I really appreciate it. I love your attitude. I love your posts. I wanted to know, like, who do you think your audience is? How do you think you got to 90,000 followers? Who are you reaching, and why do you think you're reaching them? So I think people really respond to your posts.
I mean, there's a big percentage that are men, just because they like the lipedema shape, and I struggled back and forth on whether I wanted to remove them or leave them, and I decided to leave them as long as they like behave for the most part, because whether they are following for the right reason, they're seeing my message. And that if they turn around and end up dating somebody with lipedema, they'll know how to help and treat her.
Wow.
So I decided to leave it as long as they behave. There's some I've had to block or restrict because it's like, I don't need to hear what you want to tell me.
Yeah.
But
how do you draw a line? How do you decide which ones are just being too rude?
I mean, when it's just dirty emojis over and over, there's no substance to the message, then it's like, okay. Or if it's some of them, I mean, say flat out raunchy stuff, instant like gone, or they're in my DMs with like a picture that I don't want to see.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, so I mean, there's that. I've had quite a few that have reached out to me and said, my fiance has this, and how can I help her? Where I want to get her a nice outfit. Where can I get her clothes? Where can I get her shoes? Where can I, or our anniversary is coming up. Like, she doesn't want to go out, but what can I do for her at home? And so that's great to me. I mean, I can't find one myself asking for this, but if I can help somebody else, it's a good thing. And then I do have I would say it's almost close to like 50-50 on guys and female followers. And I get a lot of, I have a younger little group of like body positive, not necessarily like lipedema or lymphedema, just younger girls that are on the plus size scale and no longer care what society thinks, and they're going to wear what they want. They're going to show the tattoos. They're going to have the crazy hair. They're going to be themselves. And so I think my blunt personality and my like tell it how it is kind of, realness attracts them. And I mean, my ink is definitely a factor in all of that. And then I have a group of probably like my age and up, because I'll be 40 at the end of the year. So like my age and up, lymphedema women that like, my legs look like yours. I know this feeling. Or, I hope I'm getting surgery one day, or where do you get pants that fit the legs? What compression do you wear? What shoes do you wear? Like all of that insight to try to just have as much of a normal life. Because that's all we all really want. We want the cute little dress. We want the cute little shoes. We want to feel normal.
Yes.
We don't want that, here's a Croc, here's a nursing shoe. Here's, we want something cute to go out with. And so that's.
Well, I'm going to interrupt because we are having a few questions on Facebook.
Sure.
I'm not sure how well you guys can hear me, but one person is asking about whether we ship to Canada. I'm going to take that one because I've been dealing with several Canada folks this week. Yeah, we do ship to Canada. We started shipping to Canada last fall or summer. It's kind of difficult. We really ask that you provide your foot measurements to us before we ship to you, because the cost to send to Canada is quite high. The duty, we have not found any way of getting out of the duty. It's an 18% duty, and sometimes it seems to be higher. We don't really know what the fees are that are assessed at the border. Yeah, we send to Canada, and if you do want to know about Canada, just reach out to us by either email or chat with us. We can give you the scoop. If you want to know real actual details, you'll find a little bit more on our return policy.
Cool. Thanks, Laura. Hopefully we'll get some questions for you too, Cara.
No problem.
Well, and I think it's a good segue to get into some of the shoes that Cara has tried and is getting louder here. I'll just hand it off to you guys.
Yeah, no worries. And it's interesting. You kind of, another segue, Cara, is like our whole, I guess, brand is built around this idea that we are building and creating shoes that help people live their lives like normal people. It's just, Laura's story, as you may have heard, is like she just got fed up wearing ugly orthopedic shoes or trying hundreds of shoes and not one of them fitting. And so this idea that we've been trying to build slowly over time is like, there is a better way. And we continue to develop styles that aren't just sneakers, but are something hopefully that you can wear to a wedding and that you can go out to dinner with. So I think you have two of our styles. One of them is the booty.
Yeah, is it the rodeo?
Yep.
Yeah, that was the first one. That's the one I typically wear when I walk the dog and I'm running errands.
Awesome.
And, like, long distance walking, because it's like like a tennis shoe. There is a little bit of like a height to it, which is nice for short people. And then I have the Traveler, I think is the other one.
Yes, I think you have the Traveler, and is that one fitting okay?
Yeah, it is. I don't know if it would have fit like before a couple of surgeries, because it is just like your is it the regular width or the wide width? And it's not the double wide. I don't
That's
remember
correct.
your sizing exactly, but
Yeah,
I do know you have a bigger version of it named something else.
we do. I don't have that style quite here, but yeah, we do. The big ask that we've had from people is, hey, I have more extreme swelling. What do you have for me? And that's kind of why we developed this clog. This is probably our newest line. Before your surgeries, this would have been the one if you'd come to us and said, hey, I haven't had surgery, take your measurements, and you're kind of more in that extra wide style. This is definitely that style because it's built on a unisex bottom, so this is wider. And then kind of what makes our brand unique is this expansion system right here. There's really no other shoe companies that have that ability to kind of grow on the instep.
Ayla, what size does the clog go up to, and what size is the clog going to go up to in the fall? Because there was a question about fall shoes and bigger sizes.
Okay. Well, the cool thing about the clog is it's actually a unisex shoe too. So, you know, for your 50% of your followers, Cara, who are men, will actually work for them. And yeah, it's from a 6 women's up to a 15 women's. And for men, that's a 4 to 13. So we'll have those same sizes for the fall, and we will have some more fun colors. I'll just show you these. These aren't coming in the fall, but we get all sorts of samples all the time. People say, hey, I want color. And we sample like hell to get people color. It just takes a long time. It takes about a year in advance for us to order shoes, test it out, see if people like it. You know, someone says, I'll buy a purple shoe. And then, you know, it goes to the market, no one's buying a purple shoe. So we have to kind of watch trends and all that.
Right.
We're going to get there with color. Color is a big challenge for us right now because it's expensive to introduce a new color, and being such a small company without really a lot of funding resources, we have to stick with what sells, and so we'll get there. It's a little bit challenging right now.
And I will say, I would love to get back to the interview, but I will say we have one, speaking of walking your dog, we have one really fun sneaker style coming out. This will be the Pandere sports line. And this is a super light shoe. This is much lighter than our other like Saturday shoes. No, this is only going to be, people who fit the rodeo and the traveler. They're going to fit into this style. But it's super fun. It's sporty. It's light. You will love walking your dog in that style. So again, it'll be super late this year, early next year that we'll have that. Actually, that's why Laura is down at the shoe show right now.
It won't be until 2022.
Yeah, there we go.
Ayla, what about a dressier shoe for the fall? Someone is asking if we're going to have dressier shoes.
Well, we currently have our sandal styles, and we will have the Saturday version 2, which will be a wider shoe for people have a little bit more volume. And Laura, you have those samples, otherwise I would show them. And then also the Rambler, that's not quite a dressy shoe, but it is a closed toe, really nice looking booty. But yeah, dress shoes are definitely.
I thought you were going to talk about the ballet shoe.
Why don't you talk about that?
So yeah, we are working on a ballet. It's just stinking adorable. One of them is kind of a boiled wool look, and the other one is a stretch material. Right now, I think we're gonna probably only come out with 2 colors. We're still working on it. It'll either be a ballet or a Mary Jane. Production has been pretty delayed due to COVID. So we would have hoped to get it this fall, but if we don't get it this fall, we'll have it by the winter and into the spring. But I think that'll, we're getting enough variety in our shoes now that, everybody has their own opinion on what's dressy. I think the Calypso is a great dressy sandal. And, I've had other people roll their eyes at me. That's not what they had in mind. But, everybody has their personal preferences.
I think too, for those of us that struggle with it, we get to a point where like, if it fits and it's comfortable, we wear it. And like, if it's not what everybody else would necessarily pair with that dress or those pants, oh well, they're not your feet, it's not your body. Like, That's kind of my approach to it. Like, yeah, I would love to be able to put on a heel and walk. I would break an ankle and be out. Like, it would not work. Like, I would end up causing more swelling because I would do damage, and it's not worth it. Like,
Absolutely. And I think a lot of our people, in addition to searching for shoes and sandals, they're looking for clothes. Can you talk a little bit about, kind of your search for clothes that fit with lipedema and lymphedema?
yeah, so my biggest struggle clothes-wise has always been jeans.
Mm-hmm.
I love like a good pair of ripped jeans. Like that look to me is like that, and a t-shirt's like my go-to dress outfit. Not even dress, but that's my go-to outfit. Especially like if I'm not wearing compression under it and you can see my tattoo peeking through, like I love it. But I always had the issue of the jeans fitting the hip, but then my waist was so small that it would buckle out.
Right.
Or if I found the ones that were like the skinny jeans that fit up here tighter, they were too skinny at my ankle
Mm-hmm.
and didn't stretch enough. So it was like a constant kind of battle. Torrid, I get a lot of jeans from Torrid or Lane Bryant.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to think, the Terra and Sky brand at Walmart just came out with like kind of like a stretchy jegging. And if you don't care about like having a zipper and buttons and just like are okay with like a jegging, they go up to I think like a 34, 36. Like they go pretty big, and they seem to run big. I know I was able to size down in them. And they stretched over the lower legs well and kind of fit better. They also have a jean short that works well, and they're like Walmart prices, so they're fairly cheap, so that you can put your money at compression or good shoes.
That's
kind of
awesome.
thing.
Yeah.
Post surgery, I have now been able to fit into American Eagle Plus jeans, which was like shocking to me because they say they're a 22, 24, but I've held them up to my Torrid 22, 24. So there's like a good couple inch difference. But my picture today at my pre-op appointment, I had the ripped jeans over my compression, so you can see the black compression through it. That's something
so
I
awesome.
always do. I always make sure I wear my compression when I'm going to try on clothes, and I make sure it fits over it, because I have to wear my compression. If I slack off on it, I get out of the habit, and then I'm miserable, and then I have to do the wrapping, which I don't like to do. So I make sure that if I'm trying on pants or dresses or shoes, I have my compression on, so I know that it fits, because it might not seem like that much of a difference, but it really can make a pair of pants not fit, or a pair of shoes not fit. It's shocking how much that little bit of difference can like not make something work.
And that's actually a pretty common question that we get is, will your shoes fit over my wrappings? Will your shoes fit over my compression garments? And, it really just depends. It depends on how much swelling you have in your foot, and then kind of what kind of wrapping and compression are you talking about? These won't fit the garments with the foam. That's not going to fit in this shoe, but this will fit a lot of other compression garments too.
Well, hey, let me jump in on that, just because that's something that I have done quite a bit. When I travel, I don't do the full wrap. I don't do that anymore because I don't feel like I need it. The full wrap is, multiple layers of the thick gray foam, and it just makes it so bulky that it's a big challenge. I think it's important to do that when you're in treatment with a therapist, but I've shifted now to a Jobst Relax garment that I wear at night, and then I wrap that with the short stretch bandages. And it is super great for travel, and it's not nearly as bulky as that whole full bandaging. Now that often will fit into our shoes. If you're somebody who can do a step down, that type of bandaging or bandaging like that periodically.
Just because of the stretch that we have in the instep.
With our shoes, it really depends on what size you are.
So that's a great point, Cara, is like when you go to try on shoes, when you go to, like for us, is when you go to measure your foot to try and see what size you are and send us your measurements, wear your garment. So that way we can tell you if it's going to fit with the garment or not.
I would always wear my garment, especially for shoes. I'd wear my garment and I measured at the end of the day where my swelling was the worst.
Yep.
So that if I was going to be wearing them all day and my feet ballooned up, or if I'm wearing them, go to someone's house, have to take them off because they don't want shoes in their house, am I going to be able to put them back on after a few hours of not having them on?
Yep.
So I always measured at the end of the day when my swelling was worse, or if it was that time of the month and I'm puffier all around, I would measure then.
Yep.
Like I purposely picked the worst so that if it fits at the worst, it'll tighten and fit at the best.
Yep. Yep. We highly recommend that too. Go ahead, Laura.
Cara, I have a question for you. I know you've dealt with the ankle overhang a lot, and we do have a lot of customers that have that. You know, in general, I think Ayla and I and Susan tend to steer them away from shoes with heels. So that's part of why we introduced the clog and the slides this year, is because we knew a lot of people had the ankle overhang. I just wondered, you know, if you had any tips for how you manage that, or what kinds of things you look for that would work with that, or if you just waited till you did your surgery to have shoes that had a back.
Pre-surgery, I wore a ton of cheap, like $5 Walmart ballet shoes that were like the really like kind of like satin fabric.
Yeah.
That if they got wet, they were like almost destroyed. Because they stretched and gave out like to my feet. So I wore a lot of those, and Walmart had like a plastic version of like a Birkenstock, and like where it's the two buckles like slide, and those in their wide width would fit, but they broke down really easily because they were like cheap plastic, but they were $5, so I would just stock up on a bunch of them and like, you know, kind of do that.
I think you lose the support too. I think a lot of people with lymphedema really do need that structure and support. And yeah, it is good to have a $5 shoe, especially if you can't fit into anything else.
Right.
It sounds like you avoided backs.
It wasn't the back really. It was my foot arched so much on the top of my foot that they wouldn't slide in to the toe part. And I felt that a lot of shoes that were 6.5, 7 in a wide width, the wide width wasn't as wide as say a 9 in a wide width. Like it's weird to me that the width wasn't the same wide width. Like it was like, well, these ones arch up more, but I've got 2 inches in the toes I don't need. And so I would look for tennis shoes that the tongue wasn't sewn to the side of the shoe, because there's a lot in like if you would go to like any, you know, Target, Walmart, the tongue is attached to the side of the shoe and then they don't open really wide. So I would either look for ones that actually weren't attached, or I would buy like the cheap ones that were and just kind of cut that part so I can open it wider. And a lot of times I would buy longer laces elsewhere so I could somewhat tie it to stay on my foot at the new arch level that I needed. There's a lot of shoes where I like cut and adjusted to fit and slip my foot in. I mean, my winter boots was a struggle because I had, you know, really a thick round lower legs with the overhang. My winter boots were a 9.5 when I wear a 6.5, 7, and I had to cut where the tongue attached so it opened wide enough. And then even then, like it would go up my legs, but I couldn't tie it closed. The snow would get in it. Like, yeah, that's my next thing I have to try is winter boots, because now that we've done my legs and they're down smaller and I don't have the big ankle hang, I need winter boots for the Pennsylvania winter.
Well, somebody asked in the comments if we do a winter boot, and we do have one winter boot. It was a lot more challenging than we realized. So we did one boot. We then tried to make some corrections and make it a wider boot, a bigger boot. But boots are really, really difficult to get right and to provide enough room. So I think it's going to take us a little while. We were hoping we would have an extra wide boot for the fall, and we don't. But
But
we'll have, if you don't have huge amount of swelling, if you have sort of moderate to minimal swelling, we'll have a boot that we'll put back on for the winter.
We'll have to get your measurements, Cara, and see if you'd fit into our wide boot, because I will say it's one of the best shoes we've ever made. It is spectacular in the way of the amount of the amount that it can take as far as swollen ankles is very impressive. And then, I mean, so many people struggle to get their foot into a boot. It's nearly impossible. You're talking about having to cut and like stuff like that. You don't have to do that with this boot. It just can't take on extreme swelling.
Yeah. Ayla, how much do we wear our boots in Alaska? How much do we love our boots?
I wear my boots every single day in Alaska. I think it's cold up here too.
Yeah.
I know, we wear our winter boots from, you know, September until April.
Yeah.
The end of April.
Yeah.
But anyway, Cara, I wanted to end before you go. I really wanted to just ask you kind of where you see your brand going and what are some things that people can look forward to. I'm really hoping that a lot of our customers start to follow you, and what do they have to look forward to?
Well, I will continue to showcase my surgery journey to show that like it's not about, you know, the cosmetic side of it. I mean, yes, it's a bonus that like I have gotten smaller and I can, you know, dress easier and all of that. Like that is a bonus, but for me it was really about the pain and the mobility. I have a almost 13-year-old son. I want to be around to torture him for as long as possible.
Good.
And I want to be that grandma that's like calls and is like, hey, have my grandbabies ready, I'm coming to get them. I didn't want to be the grandma that takes up 2 couch cushions and you hand her the child because nobody trusts her to stand up and hold them at the same time. We've all seen that character on TV. We all have it, you know, in a family or a friend's family. I didn't want to be that. I wanted to be active. I wanted to enjoy them. I want to, like, I want a life. Like, I want to, you know, experience all that. I used to do photography all the time and travel with comedians, and my mobility, like, I couldn't stand for shows as much, or holding my camera up like this was so heavy and painful. So like, that's what I'm looking forward to. We're tackling the arms tomorrow. I cannot wait.
Good.
I want like these bat wings and nodules to be gone, and I'm ready for the lightness in this. Because I mean, just even holding up my arms for pictures today, like I could hold it for like this, and then like that's it. Like it hurts too much. It's too heavy. I'm looking forward to like the crazy extraction videos that he does with my tattoos. I do have some kind of medical pimple poppery kind of videos on my page after surgery. I do tend to bury them a couple slides in, so you're not completely surprised, but just a heads up for followers.
Okay.
But my surgeries are being filmed for a possible documentary, so I'm hoping that it'll be on a network here, you know, next year or so, and that'll help spread awareness of the condition.
Yeah.
I just want them to be talked about. I mean, I don't know as much of the stats number-wise on lymphedema as I do lipedema, but with lipedema, 1 in 11 women have it. It's the same stats as breast cancer, and nobody talks about it.
Wow.
And like, we've all seen the ladies walking, you know, at the stores or at the beach where they're that extreme Pear bottom heavy shape. And, you know, there's a reason to that. Like, it's not anything you did. It's nothing, you know. And so I just want that out there. I want to really reach, because it can start as young as like, you know, elementary and puberty, and like, because they say it's hormonal. So pregnancy, puberty, menopause can kick it in. And I just want to reach that preteen age, because if I had known about it when I was a teenager, that like, oh, some people don't grow boobs, they grow hips, and this is why. Like, if I knew, my whole like outlook as a teenager and in my 20s would have been completely different. There would have been less self-doubt. There would have been, I wouldn't have put up with a lot of stuff. I wouldn't have taken some of the stuff, because it was that like, well, you're bigger, you should be happy with whatever attention you get. And it's like, no. Like, and so I think I would have had such a different outlook and opinion. And I hate that, like, I say that my 20s and some of my 30s was like wasted because I was in so much pain and I wasn't given a solution. I wasn't, I was judged by every single person and every doctor, but none of them wanted to run any tests or tell me anything to help fix it. It was just like, don't eat. And my mom would be like, she doesn't eat. Like, I just want it to be a household thing so that people know the judgment stops. Like, the human body is bizarre and does all kind of weird stuff. Everybody has something weird that happens to their body. Like, quit judging people for it. Just live your life. If they're not paying your bill or living in your house and taking care of you, it does not matter. It does not factor into your life. Like, let it go. And so that's like my big kind of like message on my site is like, they're not paying my bill. Like, you want to pay for my next surgery, then we'll talk. Like, and so I just want people to realize that, like, you are who you are for a reason. Embrace it in that moment. And if you have the ability to get the wrapping and get compression and reduce it, great. Then embrace that new shape. If you don't have that for a while or you don't want to do it, embrace who you are, how you are. Like, that's my big kind of thing is just, you don't have to be what somebody else wants. And it's okay to be completely happy, because before surgery, I was at 26, 28, and I was fine with it. I didn't care. If there was a pill or an injection that would have stopped the pain, I would have done that before surgeries, because it wasn't about changing my shape or size. Like, I was fine with how I looked. And unfortunately with lipedema, there is no other option right now. And so surgeries was what I needed to do. And I'm allowed to like my new shape. I'm allowed to like the fact that I can see my belly button for the first time in probably 30 years. Like, I'm allowed to be okay with that. Like, to me, body positive is you are positive about the body you're in at that moment.
Wow, that is
like,
really...
it doesn't need to be, I'm body positive if I stay at 24 or bigger. No, like, a size 2 can be okay with their body because they're dealing with stuff in their head just as well as we are. Be positive about the body you're living in that's keeping you alive, keeping you functioning, allows you to have friends, family, kids, whatever. Be positive with what you have at that moment. And if it changes, great. If it doesn't change, keep embracing what you can while you have it.
That's probably the best definition of body positive I've ever heard. So thank you so much for sharing. And if people have just hopped on, feel free to ask us a question in the comments and you'll be entered to win a $100 raffle. And today we've been talking to Cara with Pale Ginger Pear. You should definitely follow her Instagram. I mean, everything she just said is illustrated in her post, and it's I love seeing your posts because it is just that positive message in the day, and you're definitely a very sarcastic person that comes out across your feed.
Yeah, I'm definitely sarcastic, and the redheaded bluntness is there from the start. It started ever since I had my kid. And when you are pregnant and you have so many doctors all up in your business, literally, you just kind of, that body image stuff kind of gets pushed to the side. You have to, like, you have no other choice. And then after that, you're just kind of like, whatever. But it's kind of gone from there, and just like, I actually had more of a struggle before the tummy tuck and deciding to do it, because for the first time in years, I was getting guys wanting to date me, telling me I was beautiful, telling me they were into my shape. It was the first time that I wasn't hearing, you were pretty if you lost the weight, or your red hair is pretty, or your face is, like, I was getting guys into my shape, into the Pear, into the plus size, and then I'm going to reduce the saddlebags and the hips, and I'm taking off the stomach. And I was like, are they going to like, and like, it's a horrible thing to think, because they should like me no matter what. But I got tons and tons of like hateful comments saying you got rid of the best part of you when you took the saddlebags off.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And it was actually a year ago today. I posted about it on my Instagram. I'll have to share the reminder in my stories.
Oh, you
that
should.
like I like snapped. I saved several of the comments and I shared it on a picture in the post and was like, I'm strong enough that these comments don't bother me anymore. But somebody new putting themselves out there, this could devastate them.
Yeah.
And telling
definitely.
somebody that you want them to stay in pain because that's what you're attracted to is a horrible thing to say to somebody.
No, it really is. And, I think so many of our customers, just come at this also having lymphedema and lipedema, where it's like they've been through the identity crisis and they've come to accept themselves. And it's so wonderful when they're just like, hey, I have swelling. I look this way. I'm trying to find something that just makes me look and feel better and be happy with the place that I'm at. And I just want to thank you for continuing to help people to do that, because it is so powerful and needed.
There is one more question that I want to try to tackle here. I'd love for Cara to weigh in on it, and then we can wrap. So the question was posted, will we be making shoes for more extreme swelling in the future? I think the short answer is yes, but it's really hard. Like, it's much harder to make bigger shoes that expand enough to accommodate large volumes than we realized. So we have to start with what we know works, and then go from there. So that's kind of why we started with our wide widths, and then we expanded to extra wide. And then with each new style, what we try to do is make them more adjustable in various places. But the thing that I wanted to mention about this.
Oh no, we're frozen. Okay, well, I guess we're still here. It's that she's on our hotspot in the hotel, so.
Oh yeah.
Some people just, they just take to it like a duck takes to water. They just do it, they get through it, and they're done. And then there's that other end of the spectrum of people who they don't have the physical strength or the mobility or the help, or whatever reasons they feel that the treatment is very difficult, even putting on stockings. We find a lot of people just don't wear compression garments at all for a variety of reasons. Some of them are perfectly understandable. The thing that I wanted to ask you about is the folks that maybe could be gently nudged into checking out treatment again. Do you have any advice for those folks? Because I know I personally feel like treatment just really makes you feel better. There's no reason to be miserable in pain for the rest of your life. So yeah, that was what I wanted to punt over to Cara if you had any advice.
Yeah, so I view treatment, even if it's miserable during it, I view it as the end result is something I deserve. I deserve to have legs that don't feel like they're going to rip open with swelling. I deserve to be able to fit into a shoe without my ankle being rubbed raw from the tongue of it because of the cuffing. I deserve to be able to walk my dog or walk with my kid. Like, those are all things that I deserve, whether society thinks I do or not. I know I deserve it. So I'm going to get the help that I need so that I can have the life that I want to have. So my thing is like, this is what I deserve. This is what I'm going to do. It also is something I know that single moms or moms in general struggle with, of taking the time to have the treatment, having to have somebody help them, having to spend the money on them versus the family. And I always throw it back to the airline, put your mask on first, because if you're not getting oxygen, you can't help them. Your family would rather miss the vacation for a few years for you to use that money to have surgery or compression or wrapping or whatever you need to do so that you're around for 20, 30, 40 years versus, oh, we went to Disney World, but then mom got cellulitis or an infection and she didn't make it.
Yeah.
Like, it's more important to invest in yourself so that you can then be around long term for them.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's just what I told like my son. He'll be 13 at the end of the month. And I just said when I was starting surgeries, like, look, we're not going to get takeout as much. We're not going to do this as much. We are going to scrimp and save because like you need me around longer than you need the Xbox or this or that. Yeah. And like I lost my mom at 26 to ovarian cancer. So I know what it's like to lose her too young, and I don't want to do that to him.
Yeah.
And so like, you just need this. And then I lucked out that COVID hit and we couldn't do anything anyways. There wasn't as much complaining as, there wasn't as much complaining from him as I thought there would be because, you know, the whole world shut down. But yeah, I mean, he was supposed to come with me this trip. It's kind of his birthday gift. But flights were double what I've ever paid. It was like $700 to come out here. Oh and so I was like, I can't justify spending that for you to come along with like 2 days before surgery and then 7 days where I don't know how well I'm going to feel. I said, I would rather wait till flights are cheap again and we just do like a long weekend where I'm not recovering. And he was like, okay.
Well, that was a really good answer. Thank you for sharing. And it's been about an hour now, so we'll let you get back to your evening. Again, this is Pale Ginger Pear. Follow her on Instagram and Facebook, and Cara will be sure to share this video. And we just so appreciate you hopping on today.
No problem. It worked out that I was checking into the hotel and had some time, and now I'm gonna order my pre-surgery pizza that I get every night, every time I'm out here, because there's a really good gluten-free. There's a really good gluten-free restaurant out here that I get pizza at, and we'll watch some TV and stuff before I have to stop doing all of that for surgery. So thank you.
Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Cara. And I hope you've convinced maybe some people who might watch this to, if they are feeling like treatment hasn't worked for them in the past, my message to get out there is please try it again. Yeah. There's a lot of tools. There's a lot of clinicians that are a little bit not sure of exactly how to help. Sometimes just keep working on it. That's the thing I notice about you, Cara, more than anything else. You keep going for it. And I love that about you. Anyway, thank you for joining us. And
thank you.
Thanks, Cara.